this is non-fiction. So excuse if the content is offensive, it's official. Now that we have been acquainted, this is my pleasure, my pain, your entertainment.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Nonpfixion, come back at you one more time with a brand new reaction. And as you can see, the title, this is another breakdown for Hawkeye episode 2. And for some of you guys who probably have not watched it, we received episode 1 and 2 on the same night. So we pretty much got like a short film. You know what I'm saying? It was like almost 40 minutes per episode. So about a short film, you know, something that's pretty nice in length. But this is also by heavy spoilers. And yeah, Hawkeye episode 2 breakdown and ending explain, spoiler review. These are some MCU Easter eggs and things we might have missed from heavy spoilers. So with that being said, we're going to get to it. There's nothing much I'm going to say about it, to be honest. But the only thing I will say is I enjoyed this episode too. And I like where we're going. And like I was saying in the first video that you guys might have seen before this one, the different things that we're nodding to or we're kind of pointing to, I loved how the world of the MCU is actually expanding through the Disney Plus series. Let's get it.
Welcome back to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, and this video we're breaking down the second episode of Hawkeye on Disney Plus. If you haven't seen our first breakdown, then make sure you go and check it out right now, as we pointed out all the Easter eggs and ties to the comics, and it'll bring you fully up to speed before we dive into this one. Now we pick up immediately after the end of episode 1 with Kate and Clint meeting for the first time. This highly differentiates from the comics, as in those she was introduced in Young Avengers 1 back in April 2005. Hawkeye was dead at the time after being killed in Avengers Disassembled, and she ended up taking over the mantle. They journey to Kate's home above Herman's hearty slice, and Clint asks where she learned to fight like that. Kate says she started martial arts when she was 5, which was of course further spurred on by the death of her father in the opening of episode 1. As they enter Kate's place, they're greeted by Pizza Dog, who is based on Lucky from the comics. In the apartment, we can catch a target against Kate's back wall, and this is somewhat reminiscent of the trophy that she had in the first episode, which shared a similar colour scheme. The idea of a target placed around someone's home was also somewhat mirrored in Age of Ultron when Tony entered Clint's barn and we could see one hidden away. This target later popped up at the start of Avengers Endgame when Clint and his daughter were doing target practice, and Kate, being somewhat of a surrogate daughter, is nicely carried across in this. Kate gets changed and comes down wearing purple, which is her signature colour from the comics. However, it's also Clint's too, and we know from the trailers that they're going to be donning similar purple outfits at some point. Clint name drops the Tracksuit Mafia because, well, he knows who they are, and as we learn in episode 1, they had many run-ins with him as the Ronin. In the comics, the Tracksuit Mafia owned an apartment block that Clint lived in, and after they tried to extort the tenants, he took over. Throughout the graphic novel, he had several run-ins with them, and we already know from the trailers that they're gonna appear throughout the series. Clint donning the Ronin mantle sort of makes sense, as Hawkeye was of course a well-known figure, but in operating as the Ronin, he managed to carry out the crimes unbeknownst to the world. However, the Avengers, namely Nat, did know about what was happening, and we also learn at the end of Black Widow that Val had a photograph of him unmasked. Just as Kate reassures Clint that the Tracksuit Mafia don't know who she is, they arrive throwing Molotov cocktails, and I love how Clint catches.
He was like, "Did they follow you? Did they follow you anywhere? Would they have any reason to know that you're connected to anything?" He's like, "Did they tell you?" She's like, "No." He's like, "Where'd you go? Where'd you come?" Well, I came here to bring the dog. And as soon as she says that, they don't even say, "Hey, you know, girl." They actually say her full name because it's on the door of her apartment of the bell system downstairs. I was cracking up. Like, that's hilarious.
Catches one and then throws it back. Against the wall of the apartment, we can also catch a poster that says "Conquers the crime," which is something that's associated with fencing, foreshadowing the fight later on. And yes, I definitely pronounced it wrong. Now, Kate tries to be clever and put the fire out by shooting an arrow at a fire extinguisher, but because of the pressurized air within it, it just flies around the room and they have to abandon the suit at the apartment. They head down into the subway on Chambers Street, and this was actually the first scene that got posted on the internet where we got our debut look at Kate in the MCU. They head to a supermarket and Kate asks if they're gonna go to Avengers Tower to hide out, but Clint says Tony sold that. Now, you might remember at the end of Spider-Man Homecoming that Happy was moving out all the boxes from it to go upstate, and this is because Tony decided to move everything to Avengers HQ and to get rid of the building. You might also remember that at the start of Loki episode 5 that we could catch a variation on the tower which had Kang written on it. This was actually an alias of Kang the Conqueror, who at least in one timeline had acquired the building. This was before the multiverse was completely broken open, so potentially this line was dropped here to hint that he may have purchased it, and we know that Kang is going to be a big baddie that's laced throughout a lot of things, so it just makes a ton of sense to pay lip service to that here. Now, speaking of Avengers buildings, when Hawkeye and Kate head to the next location, we see a list of names on the apartments, and these include Moira Brandon. In the comics, Brandon actually ended up selling her estate to the West Coast Avengers, who turned it into their base of operations. When Hawkeye and his wife Mockingbird went to visit her, they were ambushed, and unfortunately Moira died during this. Just before she passed away, Hawkeye made her an honorary Avenger, so it's nice that they at least gave a nod to her here. The other names could all mean something, but with Moira being the only person who gets their full name on it, I'm guessing that she's the only Marvel character here. However, if there's some other ones you recognise, then make sure you comment below and let me know. Would you kindly also leave a like if you're enjoying the video, and don't forget to subscribe for breakdowns on the series every single week. Kate talks her way in by saying she's got a pizza, and they head up to her auntie's apartment, who's away in Florida. Inside the room, we can catch a poster for Creature of the Dark Galaxy with Moira's name on it, along with Luke Ballard, who's actually a digital artist that does work for Marvel, so I'm guessing that he made this poster. Clint heads back to the apartment, and I absolutely love how he manages to steal a firefighter uniform and go inside. It's such a slick one shot that shows his spy training coming back, but unfortunately the costume has been taken at this point. However, after spotting a sticker for NYC LARPing, Clint looks online and discovers someone has taken it. LARPing also showed up at the start of Loki episode 2, and I'd never heard of it until the MCU, so what the hell is it, bro? Tell me. Now, back in the apartment, Clint catches Kate on the phone to her mother, who brings up the black market auction and the explosion from the last episode. There's kind of some hints to her being the bad guy, as this auction is never brought up again, and Jax doesn't get in any trouble for attending it. So I don't really know how Eleanor would be aware of it, unless she had some doing in it, or I'm just grasping at straws as always. Now, the big theory going around at the moment is that Eleanor is actually Madame Mask, who played a massive part in the Hawkeye comic book story. Mask actually held a black market auction for a tape that showed Clint apparently murdering a dictator, and if they are one and the same, then Eleanor could have been behind the whole thing. She may have...
The way she acts throughout the second portion of, you know, the two episode series debut, which was this morning, the way she acts towards the second half, I know it's writing and she's supposed to portray something, and she's probably supposed to give that vibe off of like she's hiding something, but I really think she's hiding something, and I think she's connected to all this other stuff, even the death of Armand Duquesne.
Also murdered Armand, and that would make sense as he threatened her in episode 1. Kate says she's multitasking by using frozen pizza to stop the swelling on her cut, and also getting it ready for Pizza Dog's breakfast. Pizza Dog is the name that she gave the dog in the comics, even though he was called Arrow, and at the moment I don't know what to refer to him as. Hawkeye fixes the cut on her head, and I love how Clint has one in the same position, which kind of shows how similar they are. Clint returns to his hotel, the Peninsula, and we see his son Cooper watching a video of Kate as the Ronin saving Pizza Dog. In the comics, the dog got hit by a car, and Clint had to take him to the vets in the first issue, but here they completely avoided that. Cooper is also wearing purple, same as Hawkeye's colours, and he's about 45 years old. I thought you got snapped. You liar. Now, speaking of liars, Clint lies to his family about what's going on, and this is the first Christmas he would be having with them after the events of Endgame, so he's pretty much giving up spending time with his real daughter to help out his surrogate one. Once more, we catch the news anchor from the end of Far From Home, who introduced J. Jonah Jameson into the MCU. He's featured in...
That's kind of what's the term I want to use? Like a dead end statement? Because it's not that he's foregoing, Christmas with his daughter. He knows that the suit in itself is going to bring a lot of harm to a lot of people. So he's trying to prevent that from happening. He's a hero. That's what he does, But I understand what he's saying, because that's what's happening. He's foregoing time spent with his daughter to spend more time with this person who's also kind of like stepdaughter almost. Even though they just met, and that's not how we're supposed to look at it. But when you look at it and how they communicate, and honestly how they vibe together on screen, it really works.
In several MCU films, and it's great that they keep bringing him back to deliver these reports. He's dropping the news about Ormond being killed the night before, and how it may be connected to the Ronin. You can also catch an ad for Rogers the Musical playing on the TV, which we of course saw in the last episode. Clint also takes his jacket off at this point, and you can see his tattoo that he got in Avengers Endgame after his family got snapped. I love it, mate. I love it. As soon as the wife is gone, we're out getting tattoos. Keep on! Now, before we get into the next part of the video, I just want to apologise from the bottom of my heart. I know there's a lot of things that have been exposed about me on the internet recently, and I'd just like to say a big sorry for all the money I'm about to save you. That's because our friends over at EpicHeroShop.com are doing an Infinity War on prices, and right now they're running an entire Cyber Week sale on their custom designs that celebrate every corner of nerd culture. I picked up a number of shirts from them, and I absolutely love the unique designs, especially this Spider-Man No Way Home one. It's super comfy, makes your boy look super buff, and also has a sick design that you won't get anywhere else, or else I'm a liar. Wow, Paul, you look super good in those clothes. Thanks. Now shut up whilst I tell you something else. Okay, it sounds like something I need to listen to. No Way Homes, did you know dem punks have opened up the entire vault of t-shirts and are re-releasing a lot of them, including the new Rockstar's latest Obsession ones too. They've also upgraded the viral Loki Gator polo shirt with a new and improved Mark II. They've got some nerdy neckties, pet accessories, socks. Can never have enough socks, can you? And engraved gifts for the person you love 3000. There's massive discounts of 15% off at EpicHeroShop.com right now, so get yourself over there. Why haven't you gone? Are you crazy? Bag some great clothes and merch and live your best life, and I've left a link in the description below, so head over there right now and be your own hero.
Looking at these shirts and ties, I'm like, is he connected to... I swear these are the same designs from New Rocks. Yeah, see, the Rockstars right there. Okay. Never mind. Be quiet. Watch the video.
Tell them Kevin Spoilers sent you. Nah, please do, or I won't get paid, and the bank's going to take my house away. So please go over there right now. I'm begging. Anyway, on to the next part of the video.
So silly.
Now they head into New York, and we can see the Disney store, which probably selling Iron Man toys in there right now. Clint brings up his hearing aid, and this actually pulls from the Hawkeye run, in which he had to wear one as he slowly started to go deaf. He can't really pinpoint when he started to lose it, but the guy's been through a lot over the Avengers films, and I bet it's annoying having to constantly listen to everyone saying he's the worst Avenger. He didn't even get a solo movie, you sucker. Anyway, we see some people cosplaying as superheroes in the street, and these include 2 Captain Americas, 2 Iron Mans, Hulk, Ant-Man, Thor, and a woman with a bow and arrow who Kate thinks is him, but it's actually Katniss Everdeen. See, you suck, Hawkeye, you suck. Now, Kate offers some advice and says that he needs some branding, and that since the Avengers appeared, that people want heroes to wear their hearts on their sleeves. This show and the graphic novel are very much deconstructions of what it means to be a hero, and Clint brings up that he's not selling Halloween costumes or $20 a show. Though I've kind of been ragging on him, I think it's because Hawkeye is very much a hero that isn't marketable, and it's rare you see kids dressed up as him, as they always tend to choose another Avenger over him. This is very much the case with the films too, and as we mentioned, he's the only one who hasn't had a solo film. Even in the first Avengers movie, he was very much sidelined to getting brainwashed for the majority of it, but Kate saw firsthand as a kid that he can be a hero. She was very much inspired by him, and if she can be, then surely we can be too.
I still have to just to be a kid and see that outside your window, it would blow my mind. Just utterly blow my mind.
Sorry for saying you suck, Hawkeye. You know what? You're not that bad of a guy. Now, wait, what are you doing? Oh, he sends Kate packing after giving her his number, and he mocks the idea of trick arrows. So, yeah, you're back to not being much of an inspiration. However, we do know from the clips on the show that they will be making an appearance, and this also pulls directly from the comics in which he had a lot of trick arrows too. Kate goes to her mother's company, Bishop Security, and even though Jack's uncle has just been murdered, she still gives him a bit of a tough time. In the comics, Jax Duquesne was actually a character known as the Swordsman, and this somewhat hints towards the fencing ability that he has later on in the episode. Though he downplays his skills, he's clearly adept at fighting, as when challenged
Oh
he
yeah,
shows that he's
definitely
easily
is.
able to parry her. This also explains why he was so eager to get the Ronin sword. I think he's very much being used as a red herring for who killed Armand. The pair of course had an argument during the auction, so they're clearly setting him up. In the comics, Jax actually trained Hawkeye, but due to their similarity in age, I kind of feel like they're not going to be connected, even though it's always all connected. Clint travels to the LARPing event and he's pretty much
Mephisto.
drafted into having to play along in order to get the costume back. Before he enters, you can see a sign which is in purple and gold, and these are both colours that were used throughout the Hawkeye graphic novel. Clint ends up doing it and they have a big slow motion action.
This scene, I was laughing so hard. Because it was one of those things where he was walking through, these are supposed to be LARPers. It's called live action role playing. And it's all throughout the United States. I've seen it in parks in the Bay Area. And trust me, I've seen it. San Francisco, Oakland, I've seen them in the parks. But in this group, these guys are specifically related to the situation that happened at the house where the apartment where everything caught fire. These are police officers and firefighters. They're all in this group, this LARP group, and the guy who stole the suit, the Ronin suit, is here. And that's he is, Jeremy tracks him down by looking up the website and seeing like somebody post a video, and the guy posts a video who has the suit on. So when he goes here, he has to join to even get past the what do I want to call her? I don't want to call it, she's not a bouncer, that's not what it is, but the security person that's allowing them into the event, even though it's in the park and anybody can kind of walk up to it. But they're all supposed to role play, so they kind of make him go through the position of role playing, and they ask for his name because they want to register him. Ask for his name, ask for his email. He's like, nope, not giving you my name. It's like email, that's confidential. It's like government secrets. But the scene, I enjoyed the scene, and even like when he's walking through, 'cause this is like towards the tail end of it before he gets to the guy with the suit. As he's walking through, it was just funny to see him because he was like, I really got to do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh my God. And there are people trying to come out with the fake swords and the fake axes. And he's like doing like, he steps aside, quick moves really quick. And it's slow. And it's just so funny because he takes out like 20 people, even though it's not really taking them out. It's fake because it's LARPing, it's role playing. But the whole scene just actually made me laugh.
Scene, and I kind of felt this moment was very fetch questy and fillery. We've gone from reality being warped in WandaVision, terror attacks in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the multiverse and all-time breaking open in Loki, to LARPing in Hawkeye, so it just kind of feels like a step down. Clint even says that...
See, but even still, this is development and build-up. I understand what he's saying, but this is still development and build-up. This is only episode 2. Because the scene you showed from there, that was episode 6. You know what I'm saying? The scene you showed from that one, that was episode 3. Like, it's build-up. It's build-up. We gotta go along for the ride.
That he fought Thanos.
But
yeah, I'm probably being a Scrooge as it's Christmas, but it feels very low level. Kate is asked to go to the police station, and though nothing happens this episode, I'm guessing that this plot thread will be picked up next time. Elsewhere is the fight to the death between Clint and Chris, and I must admit, the guy making the sword sound effects did make me chuckle a bit. Clint starts to soften up, and he allows Chris, or rather Grills, to call him his real name. Now don't get too attached to Grills, as he's also from the Hawkeye comic book, in that he was murdered by the psychopath Kazi, who I believe is also with the Tracksuit Mafia. Grills lived in Clint's apartment, and he got the nickname because he loved barbecues. Now this might not end up happening in the show, but they do play up his nickname for a clear reason. At Jack's place he hosts dinner, and Kate brings up her knowledge of weapons, which has helped her identify when someone is trying to stab her in the back. This is of course how Armin died, which is when Eleanor interrupts, potentially hinting to her being behind it all. The two end up fencing, with Jax downplaying how good he is, in order to try and win Kate's favour. Eleanor says that she wants to bring Kate into the fold at Bishop's security, and though things settle down, when Jax offers her a butterscotch candy, her spoiler sense flares up. These were of course in Armin's house, and as he was killed by a sword, it all points towards Jax. But come on mate, too obvious. I'm not falling for this shit when Mephisto is still out there. Now Clint is ambushed by the tracksuit mafia, and this calls back to the comic books in which they showed up to the apartment block and beat him with baseball bats.
Really ambushed?
They captured him and put a bag over his head, and it plays
or
out really similar to what we see in the show. The leader says that she wants him alive, which could be a nod to Echo, who we meet at the end of the episode, or it could indeed still be Eleanor, but probably Echo. Now, Echo is getting her own show down the line, so it's going to be interesting to see how they bring this character into the series. Kate tracks Clint using her Bishop security app, and it triangulates his location and puts a target on it, which is of course iconography that often shows up in Hawkeye. She rings him, and I believe Kazi answers as he's not Russian like the rest of the mafia. Kazi used to taunt Kate quite a lot, so it's nice that they kind of brought this over into the series. Kazi is the only one other than Echo who doesn't wear a costume, and in the comics the mafia did hire him to work alongside them. Now it turns out the mafia know that Kate was in the costume, and this puts Clint in a dilemma as it was actually him who destroyed their operations. Kate drops in to save the day, but it doesn't go too well. She's donning her purple costume that's in line with the comics, but realizing that she's brought a bow and arrow to a gunfight, they're easily captured. It's at this point we're introduced to Echo, who's listening to a banger, absolute banger. Echo is actually a deaf character, and this is why we see her moving her hands over a speaker system and being spoken to in sign language. In the comics, Echo has photographic reflexes, and this gives her abilities similar to Taskmaster. Honestly, I wasn't a big fan of what they did with the character of Taskmaster in the Black Widow movie, and though I don't mind gender swaps, they pretty much stripped the character of her personality and made her a complete robot. I actually said that I would have loved to have seen Echo as a widow, and I'm surprised that they didn't use her for that film, as I think that would have made a lot of sense. Here, we don't really know what Echo is up to, but in the comics, she can copy people completely, no matter their skills. That means she can become an expert ballerina, or even a master guitar player, just by watching someone. It's the same when it comes to her fists too, and I believe that she's going to pick up some archery abilities from Hawkeye and Kate throughout the entire season. Now this is likely why she wanted Clint alive, and we know from the Disney Plus Day preview that the pair are going to escape and be chased by the Mafia and Echo. I really hope things pick up, as these two episodes were kind of fillery in my opinion. I think they could have pretty much fit the plot points from both entries into one 60-minute episode, and we could have cut things out like the LARPing and all the fencing stuff. Maybe Clint will end up getting the LARPers to become his allies, and he'll give them real swords, but knowing what we know at the moment, it just seemed like a bit of a waste of time plot-wise. Now the series isn't terrible, and there are some good bits in it from time to time, but I kind of wish there was more urgency to it, as it does meander at some points. It's going to be interesting to see what happens down the line, and with next week's episode being the halfway point, hopefully we get more engaging storylines involving Echo, Kazi, and potentially the Kingpin or Madame Mask. Now obviously I'd love to hear your thoughts on the show, so make sure you comment below and let me know. We're running a competition right now and giving away 3 copies of the Zack Snyder DC trilogy on the 30th of November. And all you have to do to be on the chance of winning is like the video, make sure you subscribe with notifications on, and drop a comment below with your thoughts on the episode. We pick the comments at random at the end of the month, and the winners of the last one are on screen right now. So if that's you, then message me on Twitter at HeavySpoilers. If you want something else to watch, then make sure you check out our breakdown of the first episode, which will be linked on screen right now. If you've seen that, then go check out our one for Spider-Man No Way Home, which will also be linked on screen.
Appreciate you so much for your breakdowns and your MCU Easter eggs, which I think you did a great job. So, with that being said, let me know in the comments, what are your thoughts on the series so far? I know not like we said during the first video breakdown or reaction breakdown, I know not everybody's gonna like everything about the series, but it's a TV show. And TV shows have to have build up and letdown. They have to have hills and valleys to have an actual storyline. And yes, the LARPing scenes didn't have to be so long. Yes, some of the scenes with the fencing didn't have to be so long. But it's all about development and characters. Right now they're developing a different personality in each character. And so with Hawkeye, one, it's just letting down that wall, laying down those walls, those defensive walls to kind of let people in, and that's what you're seeing, especially when you see him meeting Grills. It's just a different situation, just a different scenario where he's opening up a little more, like what she was saying about the whole branding issues, like him being so close to the cuff and not allowing anybody in. Him doing that LARPing thing and saying that he kind of enjoyed it, but also meeting Grills and telling Grills he can call him Clint. It's giving a different layer to the character. Now with her, we know that she's going to be part of the MCU, not necessarily an Avenger right away, but she's going to be part of the MCU. So the things that she's doing and that she's observing, even though she is pulling the trigger a little bit too quick with trying to be a superhero, and it's because of who she's around now. But because her trying to pull the trigger, she's seeing things and noticing things that she would probably not normally notice, but because she's being more observant, because she wants to be like this person, she wants to be the next Hawkeye, which is basically what she's gonna be. Because he's gonna take a break. He's gonna take a break from the movies. He's gonna take a break and spend some time with his real family. You know what I'm saying? So it's a layer that she's developing. It's a developing layer of the character, and I think it's these little bits and pieces are giving each character that time to develop those different layers. Every character must be like an onion. You must be able to pull back a layer and get something new. It has to be that way to evolve the characters. As you evolve the character, you can evolve the story. And the way they're doing it, they can do more in episode and take away some of that because they can progress. Since there's only 6 episodes, that's the one thing about the MCU Disney Plus episode. I don't like that there's 6 episodes. Can we get 13? Can we get 10? Can we get 10? At least the Netflix ones, you were getting good long episodes, and it just gave you so much more to grab onto. And I think that's part of the issue where people are not really those who want to grab on, they're just going full bore. Like myself, I'm going full bore. But then there's so many people that just are wanting and needing a lot more. And because they need that, I think developing something a little bit longer series would not hurt. Especially with something like this where it's not CGI heavy. So you're not spending a bunch of money on the mechanics part of it. So I think you could have done this series as long. Even with the Falcon Winter Soldier, you could have went longer. Like, yeah, they had some scenes that probably were that had CGI and all that stuff, but it's not like every episode has to have that. You can develop different things throughout the series. Sorry, saw something in my face. But as a whole, the episode, I enjoyed it. I'm honestly hoping that what we get by the end of this is that Echo, who's in the beginning going to be a villain, she's going to still be a villain by the end, but she's not going to be the same we get in the beginning, because in the comics, from what I've been reading, kind of study upon, her father used to work for Kingpin. Her father was killed. Kingpin told her that it was Hawkeye, so that's why she tries to kill Hawkeye. She goes after Hawkeye. Also in the comics, Echo, also is called Ronin at one point in time. She takes on that same mantle and she goes on this spree, which is interesting. But because she's connected to Kingpin, we know Kingpin's connected to Daredevil. Also, Madame Mask is connected to all 3 of them. The expansion of this universe is just, I like it a lot, and I can't. There's no other words I really have besides just saying it's just enjoyable to see. It's enjoyable to see the development of these characters. It's enjoyable to see this different world. It's not just all shoot 'em up, bang bang. There's story, there's development, there's feelings, there's emotions, and I'm here for it. And I really, really like that they're doing things a little bit differently. Just like I said in the first video, you have to do these. You have to treat these episodes as if it's a buffet, a smorgasbord. And if everything at the buffet is just steak and shrimp, you're going to get bored eventually. You're going to get bored. You have to do things differently. That's why Black Widow is done differently. The movie is done differently than the others. That's why Ant-Man, the first Ant-Man movie, is a heist film. It's not a comic book movie. It's a heist film. The second one is kind of like a heist film too. But Black Widow is a spy movie. It's not a typical comic book movie. Because even the beginning, look at the beginning. It's done like 007. So you have to change it up. Eternals is not like everything else. It's a biopic kind of. You're seeing these stories from these characters' point of views, and they're telling the history of the MCU and how things are going to change and become. So you have to give variety. You have to. If you don't, then people get bored. They get bored quick. Trust me. But I like it. I mean, of course, I feel like there could be things taken out that can progress it a little bit faster. But at the same time, there's only 6 episodes. So I want as much of this as I can possibly get. And if that means they're going to drag out some things until we get our pie in the face, the exciting moments, then I'm okay with that. You know what I'm saying? But I want to thank you, Heavy Spoilers, for doing the breakdown. I appreciate their breakdowns. Well, like I tell you guys, if you have not already followed them, please hit the link in the description, which there will be one for their channel. Follow them, and also for the shop. Go and support them. I know New Rockstars also has gear there too. Support New Rockstars. Support support the community of weebs and geeks and nerds and blurs that all love this, and cosplayers that all love this universe. You know, the MCU, the DC, everything, the comic universe. Support and show love. If you made it to this part of the video, first of all, like the video. Just like the video. Also, subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell. Man, I appreciate each and every one of you guys. I thank you guys for all your love and your support and just being here. And if all goes well, we should be streaming again next Wednesday morning. And if you're looking for a place to watch it, come by. We have a watch party. So that's the goal. So I'm hoping everything's working where I can stream again. Let me see what else we got to say. Also, if you're into sports, we do watch parties for Monday Night Football and Thursday Night Football. So, we might do some games tomorrow for Thanksgiving. I'm not sure. I might just enjoy my own time, but we'll see. With that being said, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, night, evening, morning, noon, wherever you are in the world today. Don't forget, leave me a yellow heart in the comments. I appreciate you. I love you. I am out. Peace, love. Appreciate you.